welcome. This is Young Hustlers. My name is Jared Glant, and every Thursday, noon East Coast Standard Time, come here and drop a little sales strategy, little sales tips. This is the sales show, and every Thursday we come here pretty consistently. Every Thursday, same time, same place, so that we can give you strategies and tips on how you can get ahead. Dude, this jacket is looking nice on camera today. I like that. So look, this show is a sales show, and the reason this show came about is because me and Grant were cruising down the street one day, and I was like, gee, you've got a message that resonates with the younger audience. It's about making money. It's not crusty. It's not dusty. It's not old. It's relevant. And dude, I think that you have a message that can break the millennials out of this stereotype of entitlement and the disenfranchised generation, all that other mumbo jumbo. So look, this show I'm going to talk about questions today, because questions are very important in you getting more of what you want out of your sales position. And very few people have mastered the art of questioning or fact-finding or discovery. It's called a lot of different things. But today I want to give you some information on how you can be more effective at this, what I would say is probably one of the most critical parts of the sales process. And I promise you, it'll make your life easier. It'll make your pitch easier. You'll be set up better. And then when you get good information, you set your pitch up the right way, you do a good presentation, the close is it's just easy. It's just easy. And I know that's something that everybody is interested in. And so if you have questions, call into the show, 305-865-8668, 305-865-8668. We're taking your calls today because we live. All right, so look, check it. Questions are the key to every deal that you will ever get in front of in your life. And the reason questions are the key is because questions reveal problems. And what is the number one reason why people make a decision to buy something? It's to solve a problem, right? So now your job as a salesperson is to figure out what those problems are. Now, in a typical sales process, you could have a phone transaction, you could have a face-to-face interaction. And so there's all different types of actual sales processes where this is very important. And it's different if you're, say, selling Sprint phones from a kiosk than it is if you were walking into a boardroom and there's going to be 12 people sitting around a table and you have an hour to present. It's going to be different when you're making a cold call than it is when you have a scheduled presentation or appointment. And so I'm going to cover a few things today that will make you asking questions a breeze in the presentation, so in the sales process. So if you have questions, again, you can call in 305-865-8668. I think we got full lines already, but keep calling because we want to hear from you. So if people buy things to solve problems and questions are your vehicle to reveal the problems, what you have to understand is that most people are reluctant to give up their problems because it's the key to closing a deal with them. And so the more savvy of a person you're dealing with, the more intelligent somebody is, the closer they're going to hold those problems. The last thing that people want to do is volunteer their problem that they're having, particularly if you're trying to sell them something. We see this on cold calls. You can definitely see it when you're in face-to-face meetings, people kind of holding their cards close to them because they don't want to give you too much information. That's how valuable questions are, and that's how valuable finding out the problem is, so much so to the fact that the customers will actually guard their information from them. So if you want to become great at asking questions in the process, you really need to think of it as like you're a detective. The only problem with that is if you've been in sales for any period of time, you've probably experienced this, where you feel like you're interrogating the customer, they feel like they're being interrogated, and then it starts to create conflict and friction, which is bad, something we definitely don't want to happen. So the idea is that you want to become a detective so that you can start gathering small little pieces of data and information in the fact-finding stage of the process so that you can put them all together to formulate, hey, this is how I need to sell somebody, right? That's what questions are. Questions are giving you the ammunition that you need to formulate your pitch so that you can get a yes response. So as you're working with people and and you're starting to accumulate these little data points, what you have to continue thinking with is, where are you taking them, right? Like, where are you going? Like, are the questions you ask even valuable? You know, like if you go to a salesperson, you're like, hey, you need to ask more questions, they could start asking questions that are irrelevant. So questions are a very powerful thing, but questions can also cripple you. Because if you're asking questions that aren't relevant and that the buyer can't, basically put that question into context to your conversation, then they're actually going to pull back. So if you want to think of it like this, questions should be something that kind of feed the customer along through the sales process, right? It's like you're putting down I do this with my dog, like I'll put down little treats, and then I'll be like, you can't, you don't go after it yet, right? And then I say, okay, and then he'll eat the treat, and then I put down another one and eat the treat. And the dogs start coming, right? So you want to do that in your sales process with your questions. You want to drop these questions so that the customer's actually being drawn into the process by the questions that you're asking, because you're actually getting down into their business. You're showing interest. You're being interested in their business, their problem. And so as you start gathering that data, before you know it, you've set up perfectly for your presentation. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to get into some specific questioning that you can apply in your sales position so that you can be more effective. This is Young Hustlers.
Make 6 to 7 figures overnight as an expert in your industry. Monetize your knowledge, monetize everything you work for, and make it work for you. Russell Whitney, expert in knowledge monetization, has worked with some of the largest brands: Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, Kevin Harrington, and George Foreman, in building out content that made them kings of their space. Scale your business to a 9-figure brand, sell from stage, create events, build a sales team, and get moving right now on your greatest expansion in business yet. Visit RussellWhitney.com. That's RussellWhitney.com to get started. Sammy and Lauren Rebstock are looking for individuals motivated to be a part of a team and have a great opportunity to expand by becoming part of a global movement and changing their financial condition. Make upwards of 6 figures and get a job, a career, and a lifestyle that will change your life and give you financial freedom. Sign up now at explorelifevantage@gmail.com. That's explorelifevantage@gmail.com. There's only one company to work for in the smart home industry: Skyline Security. Right now is looking for the best of the Grant Cardone following to join their team and expand financially and professionally. Go to joinskyline.com to register. Labeled by Inc. 5000 as the fastest growing company for the last 2 years in a row, you get to protect families, grow your wealth, and join a team of top producers. Skyline is looking for great people. Go to joinskyline.com. That's joinskyline.com to get started on a brand new 10x career path. Go to joinskyline.com to register.
All right, we're back. Young Hustlers, every Thursday, noon East Coast Standard Time. Your boy JG and your man GC, he'll actually be back today. We bring you this show so that you can get a little advice, some strategies, some tips along the way, so that you can start building your path towards the success that you want to get out of life. And today we're talking about questions and how to ask great questions in the sales process that actually will increase dramatically your chances of transacting with somebody. So we were going into the break. We were just talking a little bit about the value of questions. And, I guess the way I view questions is like in a perfect world, your sales pitch would represent, or it would be shown to the customer as a story of how they have this problem and they're struggling, and there's pain and there's loss and there's expense cost with this problem, and then kind of like the hero story, and then your product comes along and your product starts solving problem A, and then problem B, and then problem C and D, and then at the end everybody's happy because the problems are solved, you're making more money, you're more efficient. So I view like the sales process as a story, and those questions that you ask early in the process will actually help you create the story of your pitch. So like when you start, like in our product, for example, questions that we like to ask help us set up our presentation. So in order to set our presentation up so that it's a tailored presentation, you've probably heard that word before, tailored, meaning it's specific to that customer. We start asking questions about, previous experiences. So, have you guys ever used a third-party trainer in the past? What are you currently doing for training right now? What's working well? What's not? If you could change anything, what would it be? How frequently are you meeting? How's that working for you? Oh, wow, good. Tell me more about that. So we want to start collecting all of this data, because when I get down to, okay, now that we've gone through all that, what are 2 things that if I could help you solve, whatever the investment that we discussed at the beginning of this call would be an easy decision for you? Well, let's say it's sales process and follow-up, right? So I've asked all these questions. I've got all this data about how they train their people. Then on top of that, I've gotten from them their biggest headache, right? Their biggest, like, hey, these are 2 things that if you could fix, we'd sign up for your program today. That's a good question to ask. What's a problem I can solve for you that would cause you to sign up for us today? What problems are you having with your sales team that if I could solve for you, you would sign up for our program today? So again, you're starting to build this story, right? You're collecting data so that you can build a story in your presentation that's tailored to them. So when a customer tells us that they don't have consistency, their people don't follow the sales process, there's no accountability, when they're telling me all those things, as I'm moving through the presentation, I'm making sure that I'm hitting each one of those points as it's relevant to them. We don't have consistency. The onboarding process for new hires is really difficult. Hey, how many new hires do you have? Oh, we've got 6. Good. How often do you guys have turnover? All the time. So how many new hires are you getting per month? We're probably getting 12 or 13 new hires per month. Good. And as people are giving you this data, you must write everything down. Not word for word, but enough for you to remember what they're talking about. So when I do a presentation, like here's an example of this is an example of some notes that I took from a call. I don't know if you can see that. It's an entire page of notes that I took on a call, and Rob's seen me do this. I take an entire page of notes on the call, and then as I'm moving through presenting what we're going to do for them, I'm just checking off all these problems, all this stuff that they mentioned in the call, I'm bringing back to them so that I'm making sure that we're connecting the dots between their problem and the solution. And if you're not writing this down, if you don't have a notepad and you're not actively taking notes throughout phone calls or even in face-to-face interactions, if you're not doing that, there's no possible way your presentation will be as effective as it should be. So it's critical that you write this stuff down, and it shows people that you're interested in. By the way, the 10X Growth Con's coming up. These stinking tickets keep falling down. So 10X Growth Con's coming up. I do just want to take a that's Grant's thing. I'm not doing that. Man, I got to tell you, I'm talking to some people right now for talent to be at 10X Growth Con. Unreal. Like, you're gonna see this and you're gonna be like, is this what? Who does this? If you thought last year's lineup was unreal, this year's lineup, this year's lineup could be notorious. It could just be like crazy. So check it, questions, all right? So questions are the ammunition to everything you need to actually get a deal done. So I want to give you some examples of some situations and some scenarios where your question asking might change. These are real examples that we have here. So we make cold calls, right? We do a cold call, we get a decision maker on the phone. He says, you got 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Dude, you do not have time for the entire, let me get to know you and your business, right? So what do you have to do? You have to get into your presentation and try to pick that data up along the way. Right? You got a shorter process, a shorter window, so you can't start with the interrogation because that's what it'll feel like. And the guy's gonna be like, I don't have time for this, I'm not interested, I gotta get back to my day. This literally was a phone call we had maybe 7 days ago. Salesperson makes a cold call, he gets a decision maker on the phone, he pitches the call to his manager, the manager gets on, asks 3 or 4 questions, and the guy's like, dude, I gotta get off the call. I'm not interested in this. Fortunately, it was Mike Bonnet, he saved the call, but we were able to start looking at that and saying, okay, how could this have been a more effective call? Well, if we were asking questions along the way and it was actually pulling the customer into the process rather than starting with all the questions up front and then trying to create a pitch out of it, which you wouldn't give us the time for, the success rate of the call would have been totally different. The second type of situation that we deal with more often is, hey, this is a scheduled demo. I'm going to have 3 or 4 of my managers in here. We're all going to take a look at it. See, then I have time to actually get into the question, fact-finding, type discovery phase of the deal, where you can actually dig into their business a little bit. And that's actually really valuable. a mall kiosk, right? Or at a conference or something like that. Again, you can't go in hard on questions in the beginning. It's got to be quick. It's got to be light. Otherwise, it gets too heavy and just too quick, too much, too fast. You freak her out and she never calls you back again because you're crazy, right? So again, you have to understand the situation that you're in so that you apply questioning the right way. I would tell somebody in a Sprint kiosk that the way that you ask questions when somebody's walking by at a trade show or at a mall or something like that, the way you ask questions has to be different than if you're working in a retail store and somebody's coming in to see you. It just has to be different because the circumstances are different. One person's interested and they're coming to you, and the other one, the person's not even thinking about you, and you got to go jump in front of them and be like, hey, you want a free iPhone? I got one for you. You want to see how you can qualify? Right? So these are really important, and it's extremely important that you never try to bypass or shortcut this part of the process. I've tried to do this before. It doesn't work. Let's say you talk to an I'll go into this story when I get back from the break because this is actually really good. When we come back, I'm going to wrap it all up and give you 3 things you can do to be way more effective asking questions. This is Young Hustlers.
Salespeople, sales managers, and business owners, I want to ask you a couple questions. Do you think you can make more sales? Do you think you're missing customers? Would you like to be a better job at converting online, on your showroom floor, or on your phone? If so, pay attention to what I have to share with you here. My name's Grant Cardone. I am without a doubt the leading authority on sales in the 21st century. I want to work with you now to take your problems, your challenges, your obstacles, and your opportunities and figure out how to convert those to sales this month. I'm doing a 3-day workshop. This is going to happen in July. It's going to happen in Miami. I'm going to take care of your room either way at the Turnberry. It's a 5-star resort. Entrepreneurs, business owners, I look forward to working with you. I'm going to open up. I'm going to close the deal. I'll be there each day for lunch. I want to spend time with you. And what I'd like to do is 10x your business. Come to the Sales Boot Camp. I promise you, it's going to be great for you.
Opportunity, it's what we live for. Financial freedom is created from opportunity. At Symmetry Financial, we are committed to getting hard workers, talented individuals who love to sell, who love to help others create a strong 6-figure income. If you ever wanted to have everything you wanted in life, Symmetry Financial holds the key to get you there. We want you, the top talent, the best in the business, to join our team. Sign up now at sfgcareers.biz. That's sfgcareers.biz. Over 20 years of experience in the real estate game, Cash Now PA is the place to go for buying homes for all cash with no fees, any condition, with BBB accreditation. Ray Abood, owner of Cash Now PA, has been helping customers get in and out of homes, creating better spaces for living, and making a difference in local communities with the focus on buying homes, all cash, no fees, with any condition. Also be BBB accredited. Visit cashnowpa.com. That's cashnowpa.com to get started.
All right, we're back, Young Hustlers. Every Thursday, noon East Coast Standard Time. We come here same time, same place to help you keep your you keep your hustle young and strong. Youngle. What do you kind of word? Youngle. I think that's like young and hustle and struggle all put together. You know, to help you keep your hustle young so you don't got to struggle. Youngle, right? I'll hashtag that, Youngle. So we're talking about questions today. I definitely appreciate the shares. There's a ton of them today. Sasha, Brandon, Sadit, Paul, Josephine, Alexandros, Bernster, Danielle, James, Edwin, Josh, Kano, and Success with Bob. Let's go to the phones real quick. We got some callers on the line. Let's get them.
Jack in Chicago.
Jack, what's going on? Jack, welcome to the show. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, Jason?
Jared.
My bad.
What's up, bro?
Hey, not much. So, Jared, my question is very straightforward. When I get into the call, I start qualifying the guy right away, right? My first question is like, oh, so this is your position, this is your capacity at the company, this is what you're doing. Now, I just want to know, what is it that would, how do I transition into not freaking them out? Like, how do I go into, a smoother transition of asking questions and not just going in head first?
What's the context of the call? Is this a cold call or is this a scheduled call?
Yeah, it's a cold call.
And then what product are you selling?
We're doing basically leads for companies instead of, doing lead generation. We're supplying them with verified data, sales intelligence, basically.
Yeah. So now remember that fact finding is the second step of the process. So the first step of the process is your introduction and your greeting. And so what you need to figure out is how your introduction and your greeting sets you up for your qualifying. So like an example could be, hey, this is Jared. I'm calling from big ass data company, and we have a way to provide you with qualified leads with guaranteed contact rates. Otherwise, we refund you the leads and credits. I'm calling today because I want to give you 15,000 leads absolutely free. Now, to be sure that you qualify, are you the person that is, the decision-making process for, a deal like this? Is this something that would be your, what do you call that? One of your responsibilities.
Right. So here's the thing. What I've noticed is I've had a kill ratio on my calls at a very high rate. Like I just go in with the questions. I know what the prospect does, and I know how to get the meeting. It's really easy for me. That's not the problem. The only thing I've noticed that I've found emails to be more productive with regards to getting responses from prospects versus cold calling, where I'm just spending time and I'm just sitting on headquarter, numbers, and I'm not able to get, more prospects. Whereas if I'm doing emails, I can send like 50 emails a day and I still got like 1 or 2 people that I can convert. Whereas like cold calling, making 100 calls, it may be 3 connects, and then I got a kill ratio of like, I'd say 90%. So I convert 2 into meetings out of 3. But yeah. I don't think that's a really good number.
Well, so I mean, what I would tell you is that if you combine them both, you get 2 deals from email, you get 2 deals from phone calls, you have 4 deals rather than 2. So gotcha. like we never stand on one leg. Like we make a lot of phone calls here, but that doesn't mean we don't text. That doesn't mean we don't use social. That doesn't mean we don't use email. That doesn't mean we use video. That doesn't mean we use text message. That doesn't mean we send handwritten notes. That doesn't mean we don't do personal visits. Like we do everything. Right. We do everything. So your original question.
Gotta be a
yeah, you got to be a freaking maniac. Like you have to be like an activity maniac. Like I got guys that do not get up out of their desk except to take a piss and to grab like literally an 8-minute meal for lunch, and then they go back there because they're chasing opportunity. So like you have to be a maniac with activity. But what you were saying was, hey, how do I get into the call without feeling like I'm interrogating the guy? Well, your opening, your greeting should communicate enough value that he's like, okay, yeah, hey, I've got 5 minutes. I want to give you 15,000 free leads. I need 3 minutes. Can you give me 3 minutes? Yeah, I got 3 minutes. Okay, good. Tell me what you guys are doing to generate leads right now. Well, we use these 3 sources. Great. Which one of them is working best for you? Oh, this and that. Good. So part of our deal here is that we do this and this and that and that and that, and the way we qualify our leads and data match our needs and IP reverse whatever, track our leads is blah, 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 blah. Now tell me how this has been working for you. Now tell me how that has been. So you have to kind of like, number one, use your intro to get into the fact finding, and it has to be a value-based intro. And then when you're asking questions, again, you're asking questions where you're picking up data that's moving the customer into the sales process.
Right. Cool, man.
Past purchases, really have you guys ever purchased data before? What was your experience like? Was it worth it?
That's another thing. Like one of the biggest problems is that people don't understand that what we're providing them is actually of very high value. It's like gold dust. But the problem is that they've had so many, buying experiences which have been so bad in the past that.
Bring them up. If the customer's thinking it, you have to let them know that you know that. This is Jared from XYZ Corporation. We're here to do blah, 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 blah. I want to give you some free leads. Can you give me 2 minutes to see if you qualify? Yeah, I got a minute. Or, nah, man, every time we buy leads, they're junk and it's a big waste of money. I completely understand. Most of the people that we talk to say the exact same thing. Here's exactly why we're different. We'll show you how we can put together a customized program for you, your company, your business, whatever. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it would be great if I had somebody like you working side by side with me, bro.
Well, dude, you just need to work. You constantly need to be aware of these things. Like when you're running into problems on deal, and this goes for everybody, so this goes for everybody. Like you should be aware of what's happening in your deals. Like if you're running into roadblocks at a certain place, if customers are always saying this, like you have to acknowledge that and make a correction. You can't keep doing the same pitch over and over and over again and think that the customer's problems are ever going to change. In your business, unless there's some massive economic shift or new technology or something like that, you're going to have the same problems all the time. I was talking to a group this morning about that. Next caller.
All right, I got Ariel and Israel.
Ariel and Israel.
Yes.
What's going on?
I'm great. What's going on?
Dude, what's your question? Welcome to the show. What's your question?
My question is, first of all, you have so much information online, and I would like to manifest it in the best way possible.
I can't.
How would you recommend me doing?
Can you ask that question one more time?
I'm saying you have so many, well, thank you for that, but you have so many information online that I'm using right now, and I want to manifest it on my daily work the best way. So how can I do it?
He wants to know, he says you have so much information online. He says thank you for that, but he wants to know where he should start.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different ways that we help people, you know. That's something that we've heard in the past. Like, you guys just have so much stuff. Where do I start? The reason we have so much stuff is because we're trying to hit every different price point. We've got free stuff, we've got books, we've got mini programs, yeah, and we've got, you know, full programs like Cardone University. So what I would say is if you can't go to Cardone University, which hands down is our most comprehensive program, it's all broken out, it's all stepped out. If Cardone University for 12 months isn't real for you, right now, by the way, it's on sale for $38.50. It's like $16,000 off the retail price. Great deal. You can get that at grantcardone.com in the store /training on the training page. We have our like Playbook to Millions is also a great program. That price point's around $400. You know, we've got book programs where you can buy all 4 books for $100. The idea is to start with something that's complete enough that it'll take you from A to B on a topic. So the books will take you from A to Z on a topic. Playbook to Millions is going to take you a bit deeper. And then Cardone University is going to go all the way down to the bottom of the ocean floor. So the idea is that you kind of have to get in where you can fit in, you know, like for some people coming up with $3,800 or $5,000 or $10,000 ain't real. We got boot camp coming up. There's only like 10 spots left, 7 spots left. GrantCardoneBootCamp.com. That's $4,500, but you get to hang out with GC. So you just kind of have to find out where you fit in. Like you can always call the office and we can help put together kind of a customized program for you. But I just say pick up the phone and call us. Natalie's great at helping people out with that. You can always call her. Call in the office, ask for Natalie.
All right, I got Nick in California.
Nick from California, what's going on?
Hey man, can you hear me well?
Yeah, I got you. Thank you for that.
All right, so I just got a quick question for you today.
Let's hear it.
All right, so I was watching a little bit ago, you and Grant talking about the millionaire math.
Yeah.
And how do you make sense from going from nothing to that type of number? Like, do you go like small increments and small targets?
Totally. Totally.
So 0 to $5,000 or something like that, and then keep going on and on.
Yeah. I mean, like if you told most people go from 0 to $1 million, they're like, it's such a big bite they can't even chew it, right? So the idea is to get to that first increment. So like if you're dead broke right now, what can you do to get $1,000 in the bank, you know? And then do that, you know, to get to 10,000, and then take your 10,000 and figure out how you can get to 100,000. So you have to work in those short-term increments, but you have to have the math broken down. Because that's really what the millionaire math is all about. Is it's more about understanding the way that you can get to $1 million rather than just this is the million, right? You could get one, like Grant says, you can get one customer for $1 million, you could get 10 customers for 100,000, you could get 100 customers at 10,000. So you have to use the math in your existing situation to figure out how the math works out for you to get to $1 million. So I hope that answered your question. You know, don't get hung up in the million. Get hung up in that first step. And you know, based on your situation, you're making $3,000 a month. Like Grant, you know, he was making $4,000 or $5,000 a month. He's like, how do I get to $6,000 a month? And then once he got to $6,000, he's like, how do I get to $8,000? Once he got to $8,000, he's like, how do I get to $12,000? So he had the increments broken down, But if you don't understand the math and the numbers of how many of X you need to sell or how many phone calls you need to make to get X amount of appointments, to get X amount of demos that show up, to get X amount of contracts out, to get X amount of contracts back, and then what's your commission on that, and then how many times do you have to do that over and over and over again to get to $1 million? If you never break the math down, you're blind. It's a complete mystery, and you'll never understand what exists. It's like you're on you're across the Grand Canyon, and the million's on one side and you're on the other, and there's something so big in between it you can't even fathom getting across it. Whereas if you do the millionaire math, it creates a roadmap for you. It creates a path. You're like, okay, hey, I can see the bridge now that goes over. So I hope that answered your questions. Is that it? Good. Okay, so I want to finish up on the questions here. So very important, never bypass the question-making process. You can ask questions along the way, but never bypass the question process. I want to give you an example of something that I did on a call about 2.5 years ago. It was a huge fail. I was working a deal with a big company, and I had been working directly with sort of like the director. And he and I had a lot of conversation back and forth about the needs and where they're at and their struggles and the opportunities and X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 blah. And so he finally got this guy on the phone, and he was like, hey, look, this guy's super direct, super to the point. He doesn't have a lot of time to bullshit around, and you've got to be like, you've got like 12 minutes with him. So I get all this in my head because this is what this guy's telling me. And so I move right into the deal, and what I'm doing is I'm actually presenting the product. I haven't asked any questions yet. I start presenting the product based on the data that I already knew from the other conversation. Well, this guy, who is a self-proclaimed sales expert, stopped the call. He goes, excuse me, can you stop for a second? I was like, yeah. And then he goes, so you're a sales training company, right? And I was like, oh, here we go. I was like, yes. And you guys are the best, right? Yes. You haven't asked me one question yet. And I was like, because I skipped the step. So it's if you have to pick between the two, between not asking the questions and moving into the process, or asking the questions and have somebody be like, hey, look, cut the BS, let's get into the call, always, always, always go for the path that has them tell you, no, I don't want to go there, go here. Because that way you always have your bases covered, right? And even if you have data before a call going into it, we had this conversation in a coaching session yesterday with one of the guys. Even if you have data, you have it from another person. You don't have it from the guy that you're on, or the gal that you're on the phone with. So their reality may be different. The manager you're talking to over here may have a problem with closing transactions or prospecting. And then over here, the executive may have a problem with turnover and customer experience or brand perception, or who knows, right? So you have to make sure that your questions are asked to gather you data to help you frame the pitch, how the person you're trying to sell needs to hear the presentation. Which means if you're pitching an influencer and you're pitching a decision maker, the executive, then you may have two separate pitches. Because the influencer may have different needs and different focus and attention on problems than the executive. So you have to look at each of these cycles as like, hey, this is independent of this one, but the goal is to bring them together and get a deal done. So three ways that you can ask better questions. Number one, you should always, always, always focus on previous purchases or previous experiences with a product, a service, a vendor, type of whatever. Like so for us, when we're asking people questions, it's what are you doing for training right now? What have you done in the past? How did that work? And again, remember, people are going to hold their problems pretty close to them. So when we say, hey, like, what do you have attention on right now? Well, it's mainly new hires. Why do you say that? So it wasn't the first question that I was looking for. It was the answer to the second question that I asked. Because when I say, hey, what do you have your attention on right now? And he says, my new hires, that could mean a whole lot of different things. A rookie will take that and go, okay, hey, now my problem's new hires. But the professional is going to go, tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? Interesting. Can you tell me more? Like dig into the problem a little bit, because the deeper you dig, the closer you're going to get to the frustration and the pain point. So the number one rule of asking questions is they should always focus on previous experiences, current, the way that they've done things before. People are creatures of habit. They like to repeat the way that they do things. If they make decisions and they write checks all up front versus they always pay month to month and they never sign contracts, whatever. Those are all things that you want to gather data on. You know, have you used a training company before? Have you used a lead company before? You know, have you ever taken a vacation like this before? You know, when was the last time you purchased a house? You know, how much did you pay for it? Did you think it was a good value? What'd you like best about it? What'd you like least about it? If you could change a few things, what would they be? So you want to ask those types of questions because it gets into their previous experiences and it can really set you up well for your presentation. Number 2, your questions should always have a purpose related to the pitch. There should always be a reason you're asking the question you're asking. Don't just ask a question to ask a question. You should be looking at every word that you say as an investment in moving further down the process, getting closer to a decision. When you ask questions that are irrelevant, how's the weather where you're at right now? You know, how many kids do you have? Dude, that's not relevant unless you're selling something to the kids or you're selling something that has to deal with weather. So like when you're in calls, like keep the focus on like asking good questions that are going to give you an answer that you can use to start building that story that will eventually become your presentation. And then rule number 3. Always, always, always get answers to your questions. This is something that I learned working real close with Grant. And he's like, dude, the power is getting an answer to a question. It's not asking a question, it's getting an answer to the question. Because you'll notice, like as you start making calls now, you'll notice that you ask questions that don't get answered and you keep moving on. It's really important to establish your authority in that call that you get answers to questions. They answer, you ask a question, they go on a tangent, you go right back to the question. Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, now tell me, when was the last time you guys looked at something like this? Or whatever the question is. Those are 3 things that if you can nail in every call, in every presentation, in every interaction, I promise you, your pitch is going to start coming together and then you're going to find out that there's much less resistance in the close. You bypass the question-making process, your pitch doesn't solve a problem, the close becomes a bear. And that's when you feel like you're fighting and then they offer you a stupid, ridiculous offer because we never made the connection to their pain point. They're like, yeah, I'll give you, 25% of what it's worth. Give me 80% off. Give it to me for free. Let me use it for a few months. If it works, then we can do something from there. So questions are so important. It sets the tone for everything. So inside of Cardone University, we've got an entire course on fact finding and asking questions that covers a lot of this. June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd at the boot camp. It's our first ever boot camp. It's going to be a 3-day intensive. We're going to go all into this, building your buyer profile, discovering the DBM, discovering pain points, asking good questions to stay away from and never ask, and how questions can be the key to you getting more deals. So all that's going to be covered at the boot camp. We only got, I think, 10 or 7 or something like that. We're literally down to the wire on the amount of rooms that we have left. Probably through the end of this weekend, it's going to sell out. Rooms are still included, all right? Price of the ticket right now is $44.95. This will be the last weekend, the last opportunity. You have a shot at buying the boot camp ticket for $44.95. Next week, price goes up to $49.95 as we continue to sell out the event. But get there, I promise you, it's going to be 3 days, full-on deep dive. We're going to help you build the right questions, build the right pitch, get down to the problem that the customer's having so that when you set up the close, it's just like, that was easy, right? Close like a screen door, man. Closing like a screen door. So look, appreciate you guys coming by today. I hope you got something from this. Make sure that you comment in the comment section of the Facebook stream. If you're on Grant Cardone TV, put your comments down there, put your questions down there. Dude, we're here every week to come bring you information on how you can do more with the current role that you're in, how you can get closer to the goals that you have. Remember to stay goal focused. It's extremely important. It's vital to your success. Write those things down every single day. And remember that the only people that condemn the hustle are the ones who've already given up on the hustle themselves. We'll see you next week.